Peeragogy session of November. It's dark outside here in the UK, and we have light coming from different parts of the world. So we have Charlie, Charlotte, Joe, and myself, Laura, and we might be visited by some other people. So welcome to this talk.
Wow. Yes. What's on the session? What's on today? What's on people's minds today?
So we could talk about version 4. We can talk about the latest version of the Plop paper. I saw that you put it on GitHub, I think. Let's talk about that, roadmap for that, and then sure you want to talk about the creed and whatever Laura had. I think Laura was discussing potential case studies. We can talk about those too.
Okay, Charlotte doesn't get to vote. Laura, what do you think?
I think it's all good. It's all important, and it'd be useful as we've got GitHub and Gitter going to get us going.
Yeah. You were.
There you go. There you go. No, that was awesome.
Outstanding questions.
Intentional pun. That's good.
Let me see. Do you have any outstanding questions from the week when you were traveling? Like, I know you watched our video, but if you wanted.
Oh yeah, the Plop paper, and how did that go? Because it was quite impressive on Gitter. There was you got the poster going and offers to do that in LaTeX, and that was really good. Yeah.
So you found it a very useful way to stay up to date. I found that too, definitely. Yeah. I think the meeting was good. Charlie took great notes. We do have an outline of changes to make to that paper, and I think the timeline is I think it's due January something, but we should check what the timeline is actually for it. I only put a really small part of it onto GitHub. I put in the workbook repo, I put in just the core problems. I'd love to look at that with you guys a bit, and then because I figured that if we get that right, then everything else will take care of itself. So I'll put a link here about that. Charlotte, do you happen to know the date for the Plop due?
I think it's the 10th, but.
And I can try to screen share as well about these patterns, because although I put them on GitHub, it may look better on paper. Let me see if I can find the paper.
Oh my God. I might be the 15th.
Okay. Well, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. January 15th.
January 15th. So we've got quite a bit of time, but we were going to hope to get the book done before that and out before January 1st. So probably finishing and freezing it, except for minor changes, at the end of this month. So yeah, we need a division of labor about that.
Hola.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Paola.
Hi, good to see you.
See you too.
So yeah, something we didn't try. Let me try this. This will be fun. Remember how we talked about those real-time editing things for Markdown? Let's see if we can try one of those, because we haven't tried that yet. Paola, what's on your mind today? How's it going down there?
Oh, good. A lot of work.
Okay.
So, Paula, tell about the thing you sent to Melly. Talk about the thing you sent to Melly. Thank you for doing that. And the Wikimedia Argentina or whatever.
Great, thank you. I think it was a good exercise.
I don't know if you saw the video where I was saying you were an inspiration, and I was saying everyone should be like you, but now they are all like you, Paula. I mean, you're still you, and you're still unique, but everyone else has started using GitHub. It's amazing. It's like you inspired them. And like I was so done. I was gonna throw my keyboard across the room, and then I saw, oh look, Paula made 2 commits, and like it was just like so great. And now everyone else is doing that too. So thank you very much.
I'll try to do more comments.
It's no longer quite so critical, but yeah, you can. It's nice.
Yeah, I know.
Being
But I liked it.
a new star, she gets a star as well. Star status. Oh yeah, tell us about that. How did that go? How did that go? Things are happening here.
Yeah, Miyuki was in our workshop group for the paper. Is that what you were asking?
Oh, how was you visited with her, right, in person?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So how did that
She came up. She had meetings at the Collective Intelligence program at MIT.
Cool.
And we went out to we did the Revolutionary War museum, and it was really fun. And it was kind of like seeing you in London. You know, is these two worlds sort of connected.
Well, I guess you probably got ideas for when they make a revolutionary peeragogy museum as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well,
I got started on that over the weekend.
Well, now what's the guy who's working on the Constitution thing or whatever?
Oh yes,
Matthew.
He can be a part of Charlotte's Museum. He could be an exhibitor.
yeah.
Or guide.
What is? Well, I think he signed the license.
But this guy that Miyuki works with, Takashi Iba.
Yeah.
You read his paper, right? Or he was a contributor on hers, I guess.
Yeah, let's do that.
He's got some really cool things like cards. These cards that he has. You know, pattern cards for collaboration. Pattern cards. If you look on Amazon, they're on there. I ordered a couple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But he's got a really cool thing going, and he and Miyuki went to the same, or he works at the university she went to, but she works for Fuji Xerox, and yeah, KU. It's really kind of a new age Japanese new kind of mentality ethos that they live in there.
Well, we should hook them up with. Now, who's the other guy out in Japan? Sorry, I'm so sluggish on these names.
Oh, John Lang. Yeah, we actually chatted with him on Google Plus, and they both have views of Mount Fuji. He's a little farther south than she is, but we went on Google Maps and we did the street view, so I saw her house. But it was really great, and I think we should try and just kind of work some of those people in from Plop to our Peeragogy in Action or our Hangouts.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking we have enough people that we should basically start a Peeragogy East meeting, like Fridays at 1 p.m. UK might work. That worked for John, and I think if it works for John in Japan, it will likely work for, is it the other John in New Zealand?
Graves?
No,
yeah
Graves, yeah, that's the one.
He was very helpful with the patterns too.
Yeah, let's see if there's buy-in about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me. Did you guys hop onto this Peeragogy Next RealTime Markdown herokuapps.com/Peeragogy Next?
Yes.
One more time. So.
Looks great.
Yeah. So this isn't really the next steps like in the creed, but it's a good thing to check. So that would be a request especially the co-authors of that paper, does this make sense, like, as the core problems? Like, is the core problem in peeragogy? How can we solve problems together, or something else? And does this context explain that? And this is all just stuff I kind of made up, but it might make sense, it might not. So I would really love a sanity check on that. But yeah, the creed has got more of like the what's next really in the project. So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused even myself what we're talking about. But anyway, please, as you have time, maybe proofread that, check it. Maybe we can go over it now.
Should we hold on to this link or something? I don't know where this is coming from.
The link.
Can you add the link to somewhere in Gitter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will patterns plop. Yeah, realize. Yeah, that's something. But I think maybe we should switch over to this this creed again and look at the next steps, or maybe to not do that. I don't know. I don't know what people really want. If you look in here in part 3 of this one, it says Peeragogy Rosetta Stone. There's no line number, but we were just messing around with that. Maybe that's even easier for group editing. So those would be two things, like coming out of the paper. I guess coming out of the paper, I really wanted to, like, it's our big opportunity to validate these next steps. We can say, like, is someone really going to do it? And if not, what are we going to do instead? Or are we going to do anything? So we've got these two different things to validate, like, kind of like, what's the core problem? What's our offer in the Peeragogy project? And those are on the Peeragogy next things. And then what are we concretely really going to do, say, over the course of the next year or the next half year? So like, we talked before the meeting about, like, adding case studies, and, like, that's a great thing to do. So like let's make sure that that's actually recorded someplace here. Maybe it's on the scrapbook, or maybe it's on the roadmap. I don't know. Depends on where it fits. I'll put it onto the scrapbook for now, but we can move that. Maybe it should go on the roadmap. Again, those are things to debate.
Well, I'd like to see some. I'm echoing. Oh boy. Anyway, just get some concrete time deadlines, if you will, or a timeline for doing this, because we're really good at meandering around and talking about what we want to talk about, and that's great. But maybe. Version 3, public domain day, January 1st. That's kind of what we were aiming for.
Yeah.
I was going to look into having a book launch at the Berkman Center, and we had a sort of book launch at the Plop conference. Mm-hmm. And there's some of these things like the creed and the patterns, and I don't know what else needs to be updated.
Well, so yeah, that's a good question. But let's work on this timeline thing. So V3, it's right above the Rosetta Stone. I added some timeline. V3.
And we should get the contributors to the current handbook to really pay attention to their chapter and express whether they want to update it or put something new in for version 4.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You need to make a plan about version 4. Maybe these things can have bullet points below them here.
And case studies, and then pilot projects. I would like to just revisit our pilot project thing. Remember, we did that with was it Helene Venadori, or in that Commons Abundance project platform.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get I'd love to do like a month. I think if we got our accelerator thing down to a month, that would be really cool. And I'd love to do a month of like Planet Math, you know, because I don't want to take up too much time here, and I think the Planet Math people wouldn't have the patience to do more than a month. But basically, that would just mean like getting maybe 2 extra people from that into the conversations, making that part of what we do, just as part of our normal hangout. But we should revisit the protocol around the accelerator.
Yeah, the you know, the pattern people, Plop people, were really emphasizing the branching out into different domains and what they wanted to do with that, or you know, how they wanted to do that. Being as it is very rooted in software development, but it's a similar thought that we had for peeragogy, is applying it to different you know, disciplines or whatever.
Yeah. Well, so I'm screen sharing this just in case anyone didn't see that where I'm writing. You can also write things into this at this Google Doc link. Let's see.
Are we still on the real-time markdown?
I have it open, but I haven't jumped in to do anything. We could work on that this day. It's a real-time thing just to try that. It's worth making a test edit to make sure you can do it.
Okay, so this is like along the lines of what we were talking about, being able to simultaneously edit.
Yeah, and then someone can just copy and paste it and save it on GitHub.
Oh.
Hopefully.
So it's not automatically piped in there?
No one's mastered that yet.
Okay.
That we could offer later. Much later. So yeah, December 1st, Plop paper revisions freeze. I think we need a row above that, like maybe like, what are we doing in November? As Laura said, this is the first meeting in November, but that means we've got like 3 more. Let me get out of my calendar.
So is this way down at the bottom or something? Yeah, I got it.
All
right.
Yeah, 9th, 16th, 23. So yeah, I think that version 3, my opinion is that version 3 is sort of like, it's been hanging over our head for 2 years, which is not a problem, but once we get it, like, let's not let it hang over our head too much. I think it's good to just get on with version 4 and think about what that's going to be, and think about what we want the project to be apart from the handbook. And maybe that case study you were mentioning, Laura, would be helpful in that regard, because it's like a way to envision peeragogy, you know, beyond the handbook, outside of the handbook, in the field. So,
how do you add rows on this?
If you right-click, it gives you the option to add above or below.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, I personally am hoping that the handbook will. I mean, I'd like to consider the idea of rewriting the handbook to like do design patterns in all of the other sections. So basically, we'd have design patterns and case studies, and like not remove all of the current text, but revise it so that it either becomes patterns or case studies or goes away. But that's just a possibility.
What do you think about that? If peeragogy in the field was a new, not like a self-contained section, but a growing section?
Yeah.
I mean, because the idea, Charlotte saying the Plop people were interested in going beyond disciplines. There may be small examples that aren't full-blown project case studies, but that are worth putting in there as seeds of what could grow into something, as well as maybe examples of things that are something, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of that. Steve.
Seeding disciplines.
I mean, I think working with design patterns is fun, so I don't think that we should maybe make it all design patterns, but it'd be good to, like, maybe, for example, something we did in this accelerator, it could be like, okay, at the end of the 4th week, like, write one new design pattern. Like, what did you learn? Express it in the form of a design pattern. Other ideas? Those who are quiet should say what they're thinking. So yeah, Lisa's saying, like, domain of application, like business, education.
Mm-hmm.
I was emailing in the mailing list about government. I was thinking, like, government is expensive. I'm not, like, anti-government. I've never had time to become anti-government, but I've realized it's extremely expensive. So if we talk about, like, cutting costs in education, that's kind of funny because it's not the most expensive thing that the government spends money on. In the U.S. anyway, it's military, and I'd imagine it's probably similar here. Do you know, Laura? And Mexico? What do they spend money on?
What do the government spend money on?
Military mostly, or?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And actually, government kind of doesn't hold by the same rules of business. So, like, sometimes you go to government offices and it's like you're living in a different world as far as alternative universes when you're speaking to them. I mean, I've just had a couple cases where I called somebody at 4:30 and the person wasn't in the office, and I asked, well, what time do they leave? Because they asked, like, of course he's not there. And he goes, well, his hours are 8:30 to 5. And I was like, okay, but it was 4:30. Well, of course he's gone. and they didn't, I mean, it was just, I had, like, I was thinking to myself, what in the world is going on? But their ability and flexibility might also be a little more limited. So I think government may be a good one. There'll be different barriers to being able to implement a peeragogy sort of model.
Yeah, so each one would create new challenges.
Yeah.
Research is another one. Like, some researchers, like us, we like to think we're really cutting edge, but a lot of research is very more closer to the government model you just described, I think.
And also, and the sharing of information, how that's perceived, and stuff may vary too. The reluctance to share information and stuff like that among researchers.
Yeah.
So that way what we could do is we could hold to the idea of peeragogy in concept, as far as like a generic sort of here's how peeragogy works and trends, and use these other things to help inform and build that. But then we could translate that and show how it applies to different things.
Yeah, I think that what's really missing in the current book is kind of that sense of application. I mean, we can go on and run our mouths about, like, ideas, and it's all really cool, but no one's saying, okay, here's how you use this. As you've said many times, Lisa, probably, and Doug was saying this before. I mean, we're slowly catching up with you guys, but it's like, you are a middle manager in a small company. Here's how you can apply peeragogy right now to make your life easier, and it fits on one page. Something like
right. And I think that's where this can get traction, because I think in its most I'll say generic term, broadest sort of statement without applications, that may actually interest very few people on the surface because, it's so general that they don't see the relevance to a lot of people. I mean, when you're just trying to keep your head above water, the benefits aren't as clear. But if you can provide case, examples of how this can benefit businesses, say, okay, you can read the other stuff or not, but here's how this benefits business. Yeah. And then they can always refer back to the more generic reasoning and the background for it to the other larger document, the handbook, for example.
Yeah, so each of these things could almost be like a thing you could rip out of the handbook or publish separately. Yeah, so I could imagine, like, what would peeragogy look like from what Laura's saying, for example, like, like a thing written with a student. So you could have this little fragment, like the thing written with a student, and then you'd have some background context, like peeragogy in education, which would be like 3 case studies, 4 patterns, a little to-do list, but it wouldn't have to be the whole thing, the whole handbook, unless you were really interested. I remember, like, if you look at Reddit, there's a peeragogy subreddit, or like a search on Reddit for peeragogy, and like one person, the first thing is like, here's a link. Oh, that looks cool, but it's a lot to read right now, so forget it. That's like the only thing about peeragogy on Reddit right now, so it's not really great for publicity. So, Karen is disappearing. People are disappearing.
Karen was here.
I had a hard time logging in.
Okay, maybe the
got bounced out.
Greasy, sticky, or waxy, or something today. Yep, seems to be. Yeah, those 3 areas like definitely seem like a good start. I mean, hi Karen.
She's here.
Hi.
Yay!
Karen maybe makes you think of like volunteer groups and stuff. Oh, 2 of you are at the library. You're
2 Karens.
Can't talk, but you can type. Yep. Okay. Good.
Yep.
Okay. Good. I was gonna ask you, are you on the GitHub and Gitter? I feel like maybe you're not there yet. Not yet. This is fun. So your task, your mission is to go to GitHub. Oh man, you know what to do, but you just GitHub.com. Take it from there. Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that, and good luck with the GitHub. We'll see you when you sign up. But yeah, everyone else is on there. Good job, everybody. Yeah, but maybe volunteer. Oops, I don't know. As another area in addition to the.
I guess she can come over here, and I'll babysit her into get her.
Okay. I mean, that's been another downfall and whatever of peeragogy is, like, we spent so much time talking about peeragogy in practice in our group, so like if we could move beyond that and kind of turn the book inside out, yeah, peeragogy in the family group perhaps.
Karen has a few issues that
this is a serious question, Karen, because I was looking at, we were talking about government. I know you like thinking about government, and so like if you look at the pie chart of how the U.S. spends money, like military is huge, and then like social services and like social care and stuff is like the next big piece of the pie. And so like you're doing like the crowdsourced version, I guess, like homebrewed version of that. So do you have an opinion? Is this question coherent enough? Do you have an opinion about how peeragogy could help reduce the expenses of the government, and then we'd have more money left over for other things like ice cream or whatever? Come on up. I don't know what you mean. Come on up to Charlotte's house.
Oh. Yeah, come on down. Well, it depends on where you are, Karen. If you're at Starbucks in Arlington Heights. Okay. We're getting a little obscure here.
Well, again, okay, what did you say here? Dennis?
Yeah, it's just what you said was a good thing. I think it makes sense. So Paula's three sections sound really exciting, but also mentioning, pedagogy in the group. And I think if you're making some sort of, if you want a practical how-to on a page, one of the lessons that comes out is it's not something you do alone, I think, maybe. Or maybe you do, but few people do this alone. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a good general rule. Yeah, I think it's a good disclaimer, or like, I don't know, if somebody's getting frustrated, like something that'd be a good thing for them to think about.
Sort of like what we've been doing now, like creating the Gitter, creating a new channel on Gitter. So like, hey, we've got a project. Let's create a channel on Gitter. Let's create a repository. Let's create a document, and like make sure that someone else is aware of that. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, if there were going to be nuggets of advice that are the gold mine of what's really good, one of them is perhaps you don't do it alone. Okay. But I mean, you know what I mean? If saying how can you fit this stuff on one page, that's a tall order, but also a very important challenge, because if it's going to be useful and if it's going to fly in a wider context, that's a real something that should be addressed, like seriously, because I think it's at least it's a great point.
Cool. So maybe that would be a good time to flip back over to this real-time Markdown app and just say I'm massively screen sharing it right now as we look at it. I'm about to put enter too there. So there you go. Like core problems. So how can we solve problems together? Again, the wording can change. Obviously, this is why it's for editing here. If you click on the left, this part, you can click in and change it. And in fact, I would suggest that you do that, even if you don't want it to be final. Just like make a tentative edit, because otherwise we're not going to record anyone's thoughts here. But like, supposing that the main thing we address here is the question: how can we solve problems together? So like, someone's a teacher, someone's a musician, someone's a activist, someone's a publisher, blah blah blah. Not to stereotype us, we all do different things. But how do we collaborate? We seem to have addressed that. So if you flip down here to this part, core solutions, it claims here that the solution we've tried is to get really concrete about what the problems are. So yeah, this idea of like, if you can describe the problem really well on one page, you're already halfway to solving it. You're not all the way to solving it, but you've already built some teamwork around solving that problem because you've expressed it really clearly, and so on and so forth for the different things we do. But so these are things, they fit in like less than a page. You could just fit them in like 6 postage stamps worth of space, because these things also explain some of the background.
Is isolation really a issue in reduce, reuse, recycle? I mean, is that the core?
How can we avoid undue isolation?
It just doesn't seem to fit there, but...
Good call. Good question. Don't know.
How can we avoid overlapping? Or, I mean,
yeah.
Duplication. Or...
Yeah, or stepping on each other's toes, I guess. Like, isolation is one thing, but stepping on each other's toes is also something else.
I mean, isolation is kind of a cause of not reusing or recycling.
Yeah.
Because we don't know that other people are doing the same thing.
Well, or maybe the problem is isolation, but the subject of the title reduce, reuse, recycle is not a good place for it to be. So yeah, that's something to discuss. But I mainly just wanted to share this because it's like, if these questions here in bold, like, if we have big burning questions that are not these questions, we should record them. And if we don't really care about these questions, then we should revise them. But if we don't have any questions, then it's going to be kind of dull. I mean, I guess we still have these, but like the wording could be wrong. Maybe we don't care. Maybe I think so. The reason I called it undue isolation, though, is just like there's a level of isolation that's good. In fact, I've just been writing something else about it. I'll paste in a paragraph on the Google Plus. But yeah, to do research, for example, you want to get a bunch of other ideas, but you don't want to get so many ideas that it confuses you and so that it perplexes you. That's why I had the reduce, reuse, recycle right next to carrying capacity, or right next to a specific project. Like you have to balance drawing in other people's ideas with getting stuff done, which sometimes the best way to do that is to block everyone out and just do it.
Should you not say that instead, maybe?
Where? Here?
Yeah, instead of just balance. You're trying to balance new ideas.
Yeah.
With move forward.
That might fit a bit better.
So, and I just have one other quick thought. And when you said spend a lot of time identifying the problem, I think that I just made a quick note, and I'm not sure if you saw it, but I think emphasis on the problem, particularly in the case of business, might not be the best way to go. Instead, focus more on getting everyone on board with the desired solution, and then collectively work together to figure out how to get there. Obviously, something's not working or somebody wants a change.
Yeah.
And so what are we all aiming for, and making sure everybody's on the same page as far as what we're trying to accomplish, not because the problem is done. And you may come up with 10 more problems and agree on the problem, but nobody will agree on the solution and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But once you get buy-in on what you're trying to do, people may have to switch out of roles and do other things to collectively get there. But a commitment to the solution will motivate them to do it. And sometimes when you're talking about the problem, it becomes a finger-pointing exercise, depending on the group and the issue at hand.
Joe, have you seen what Karen has been typing in the comments?
Oh, sorry, Karen. I know that.
Can I read it out to you, because she can't talk? She said something she's finding now is learning how to allow your toes to be stepped on without getting angry, learning to dance by learning not to step on toes, and learning not to be bothered by minor toe stepping. And then also, she agrees with Lisa on the idea of focus more on the solution than the problem. It's so easy to jump up and down on the problem, whereas finding a solution takes a great deal more energy and risk. Change is uncomfortable. Creating new habits is risky. Great point, Lisa. People may agree on the problem, but not on the various solutions available. I just think that's really... You're thinking a lot. It's like you've got mega clear thoughts while you can't talk. It's great.
That's a pattern.
It's really good.
That's true. Keeps you sharing, Laura.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think that the problem maybe is that problem is used in a kind of semi-technical term way with these pattern people, but we've got to mesh that with what people think. So I agree completely. We shouldn't make problem like a finger pointing exercise. And maybe even any synonym is the wrong way to do it. But so I see what you were saying, Lisa, that it's getting people on board with the end goal to some extent. But you need to come up with the idea about where that came from. And as you said before, it needs to come from in the business setting. It usually needs to come from top down. So if you've got a CEO or whatever who doesn't have a vision, who doesn't have even a sense of reality, they have a sense of vision that's quite wrong, then if they get people on board, the whole thing is going to turn into a train wreck. So you've got to be careful about that part too.
Well, but they may be saying we need a solution, and it might be to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
But in collectively coming up with a solution to fix something, that's where you get the buy-in from everybody. And business leaders can say, I want X done, something done. But the how to do it is where you need everybody collectively working together. Mm. And that's where this is where the hierarchical thing comes in. Some business people will say, I just need this fixed. What is our plan for? something needs to happen, and let everybody else from there on down figure out the best way to do it. And that's going to establish more of a peeragogy way of thinking. It's a little more consistent with that. If the executive, on the other hand, because I've seen the shift in organizations, and managers will even differ within the same organization, won't tell you what to fix, but tell you how to do it. So they will start to give you the answer that they think is appropriate, and not not what he wants to have done.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes problematic, because a lot of times they don't anticipate and don't understand everything that's involved in the how. And they've handcuffed people in their ability to execute the plan to get the desired results he wants, because he told them what to do.
Yeah. Yep, and I agree with you. I don't think "how can we solve problems together" is the right way to express all of those ideas in a really succinct way. So we think we need to wordsmith that for sure some more.
And there might be some things we might need to change, and I don't know, I haven't thought about it, Joe, but we might even need to change how we think of patterns, because patterns were developed, I think, with software in mind, and humans aren't software. And so we may need to step away and say, in software, patterns are usually handled this way, and the focus is on problems. But we found that, humans don't behave that way. It's not effective from a human interaction standpoint. And so maybe we want to say, instead of focusing on the problem, we're going to switch the focus so that people can work together more effectively, to kind of a solution-based focus. And again, because I think there are some limitations if we try to keep this. People aren't computers, and so there's things that you can do more easily when it comes to computers.
Yeah. So I hear you. I think that is a brilliant encapsulation of that, and you're starting with the premise humans aren't computers, or nor are they buildings. I guess it was originally coming from architecture, but we're not built. If you build a community, I don't know even know if we agree that that's a term, but if we do that, we wouldn't do it the same way we would build a computer program or a building. We'd do it a really different way. And so it would stand to reason that we go about it somehow a bit different. So, yeah. Thank you, Dorothea. So this book I have here, let me stop showing this. I showed you this book here. Really good philosophy book. I mentioned this Rancière guy who you pointed out to me, Paula, someplace in there, or she does, the author does. There's about the Gilbert Simon. Anyway, he talks about how does the collective come into being, and it's it's really interesting. Basically, the view in this book is we're all becoming ourselves. Okay, each person here is becoming more and more him or herself. In this case, it's most likely to be herself because Charlie just dropped off. But even so, okay. So each person here is becoming more herself, and in that process, we share something with the group as well. So here we are, we're sharing something with the group, and there's something about sharing something with the group that helps us become more ourselves and also forces the group to become more itself. So this whole idea of creating the roadmap, fleshing out the plan, as I was saying to Laura before we started recording, it's find the thing that's most useful for you, and we can try to support you on that mission. And so here we are all kind of sitting here simultaneously grooming each other, helping each other with the tasks of becoming better what we always do. And I think we've been somewhat successful. Let's pat ourselves on the back here too.
I have to say at Plop, when I realized that we had to revise that paper, and I put that out there, and I snapped a photo of the comments, and we had to revise it before we got it workshopped. It was like having you guys be there was amazing. It just made me feel complete. I thought I could do it, no matter what, if we couldn't handle it. But just having Joe and Charlie and I don't know who else weighed in, but it was really amazing feeling. Really nice, Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we obviously couldn't have done it without you going there and leading the charge. So I remember a while ago you're saying, I don't know about patterns. Well, you're going to be the expert, so now you're
yeah, and then I said, I hope they'll be nice to me down there. It was like the nicest group of people you could ever imagine, and they're just like, they're up there in their fields, They're not like nobodies.
Yeah.
And, but just the most authentic, cool group. Just like y'all, like y'all.
Nice. Yeah, so I did have the theory that that would be a very peeragogical atmosphere, and I suppose it is with their own little twist, and because they started before our project, so they got their own thing. But it'd be interesting to compare how they do it with how we do it. Obviously, it's really, really different, but it's not obviously.
But there are so many elements that I kept recognizing, in patterns, and also I was putting in the notes, there was a big emphasis on whether the patterns as expressed in the papers could deal with changing context, because that's what it's all about. It's not about locking something in. It's about having a sort of a tool chest to deal with, the flying monkeys, and field those balls that come your way.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to get there. Again, we have this special offer that like no one has tried this like what's next idea with patterns. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think in a way they almost need to be. I mean, they've seen it now in the paper, and I think someone recognized, didn't they, that it was sort of a new element. Was that Christian or? But I like it personally. I find it makes it really dynamic.
Yeah, but as you're saying, I mean, we do spend a lot of time going over and over, like, what are we going to do, and like getting ready to do something. So I think maybe this timeline, where to go, maybe we should put that someplace like more front and center, and make it something that we come back to something really simple like this, rather than a big drawn out thing. And if someone wants to get more detail, like we can link into these things. So maybe it's time to break this Peeragogy creed apart into smaller pieces and then just link it into this. I mean, I just remember a big highlight for me has been that like practically a year where we just had that list of things to do, paper and like other plans, and like we were doing it. We didn't do everything on the list, but like we were fairly productive. It was pretty impressive.
And we could stick it in the description on the Hangouts too, so it'd kind of be like a little tickler every time we have a session.
True. Okay, so I think we can make it happen. Okay, well, should we close it down? Final comments? Famous last words? I hope not.
Okay, my action item is to contact the Plop people and give them the links for our Hangout and for our sessions and our Gitter and stuff, and invite them to participate.
Yeah, cool idea. Cool. Yeah, just let me know if you get stuck as well, Karen. You can email me. You can even hang out, whatever. Or you could find someone else here and do a peer-to-peer learning exercise with Paula, the original superstar of GitHub.
She's the Git queen, Gitter queen.
Yes, she is. She's the leader of the charge. So, if anything else, I'm gonna stop the broadcast. Okay, stop.